Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to The Longest Journey. Let's go ahead and talk to Brian Westhouse and let him know that we're back.
Hi there, Mr. Westhouse. I'm back.
You didn't say that right.
My word. What on earth possessed you to return to this godforsaken place? You were lucky to escape the first time, but now you're really pushing it.
Pretty sure it was a
It's
sneeze or
not
something.
that bad a place, or else you wouldn't stay here. Besides, this time I didn't exactly come here by choice.
I stay here because I'm a true masochist, Miss Ryan. And who forced you to come? Was it Cortez?
He doesn't even know I'm here.
Pretty sure it was the game
unfortunately.
makers.
No, I think I had some kind of accident with my so-called powers
Maybe you should change that phraseology around.
in my underwear.
No, huh? Isn't that the way it is, though? We always cross the rift at the most inopportune times. Care for a drink? Oh, no, that's right. You, don't.
Would you mind helping me with a few questions?
Would you mind helping me with a few questions?
I've nothing better to do, so shoot.
Bang! Oh, you didn't mean that. Alright. Do you know anything about dragons? You know, like the one that's playing the game right now?
Do you know anything about dragons?
I try to stay out of the affairs of the kin these days. What precisely do you wish to know about the damn beasts?
Well, specifically,
There
where
are
are
two
they?
dragons in Arcadia, and I'm trying to locate them.
Yeah, I've heard that tale myself. But no, I don't know anything about it. You'd be better off speaking with the Sentinel Minstrom. After all, religion is their specialty, not mine.
Disappointing. Did you ever hear a story about a god who fell from the sky?
Did you ever hear a story about a god who fell from the sky?
Stories aren't my thing, April. You should visit a library. I'm sure you'll find some stories in the books.
He's not a big fan of
I
soap
know
operas.
the Sentinel have a library somewhere near the city. I've also heard rumor of a people with wings who do nothing but observe and record history through stories. But I don't know if that's all it is. A rumor. Still, if you're looking for stories, it may be wise to check it out and see if you can find them.
Well, you know, you wouldn't mention something like that if there wasn't some accuracy in it. I'm looking for a disc that will open the way to the Guardian's realm.
I'm looking for a disc that will open up the Guardian's realm.
It's amazing that
That's
April says the same thing that I
religion,
always do.
Ryan. And the only things I worship are whiskey, a good cigar, and a nice long... Anyway, don't ask me about all that balance mumbo-jumbo.
Would you be able to tell me where I could look for the entrance to the Guardian's realm?
Would you be able to tell me where I could look for the entrance to the Guardian's realm?
In Tobias's pants, if he had his wish, I'm sure.
Oh my.
No, I'm sorry. I don't know anything about the Guardians. Balance, Sentinel, or gardening. Now, if you're interested in bullfighting, I can
I'm
talk
not.
all night.
Bullfighting is a horrible act of cruelty to animals and not much of a sport at all.
Bullfighting's a horrible act of cruelty to animals, and not much of a sport at all.
I'll just forget you said that, Miss Ryan. If there's one thing I miss about Stark, it's bullfighting.
I imagine they got
I'll
rid of
be
it.
happy to hear then that they abolished bullfighting hundreds of years ago.
Yeah.
Damn.
This is probably just going to reiterate what we already heard, but what did you say about the flying people?
What did you say about the flying people?
They're supposed to be great storytellers, and they've been observing this world for a very long time. But it could only be a rumor.
Yeah, I thought I'd check. Alright, can't think of any more questions for now.
I can't think of any more questions for now.
Then let's talk about other things, shall we?
Let's not and say we did.
Thanks, Mr. Westhouse.
Anytime, April. Come back if you're homesick and you feel like talking to a fellow alien.
You're a sectoid? My god. Alright, so, we've let him know that we're back, you know, and stuff like that. I think we'll go to the Enclave now. Stonewall.
Some kind of sandstone, very malleable, but also very vulnerable to the elements. These cliffs probably have huge, naturally formed caves and tunnels.
I think limestone's a bit better. Into the Enclave. There's a dragon.
It's a stone dragon gazing down into the center of the dome like it's guarding the entrance. It's a magnificent piece of work.
Is it, though? I don't know. Seems kind of weird. Anything else that I can look at? Can't look at the boats. Can't look at that.
I look like a serving maid.
That is an interesting outfit for a serving maid. Alright, into the Enclave.
The dragon's mouth is pointing straight down at the middle of the floor.
Interesting. It's not where I told you to look.
It's emerald green, teeming with life and carrying the pleasant, salty scent of distant shores.
I don't know about pleasant. Middle circle. Is that all? Downstairs. Okay.
It's a circular hollow about 20 centimeters across and about 5 centimeters deep.
This symbol showed up in the intro, I think. It's a little bit difficult to tell because it doesn't have great definition here, but it's probably going to play some significance a little bit later. I guess we'll go downstairs, though. Anything to look at? You know, I feel like having books this close to water probably is not the best thing. Maybe it's just me. Let's ignore the priest, maybe. Take the stairs down. Nah, we should probably go talk to the priest. Hello?
It's one of the Sentinel Minstrelmen.
Excuse me.
Oh, goodness me, I didn't hear you come in.
Or walk
the
by
way,
me.
You haven't seen Volume 6 of the Complete Annotated History of the Northlands, have you? I could have sworn it was here yesterday.
Yeah, I think I dropped it in the water.
Sorry, no.
I guess someone else must have taken it. I try to tell them to write down what they borrow on the list, but they never listen. Only last week I spent 3 hours searching the entire Enclave for the second scripture of the ballads, the scripture of song, before I realized that Vestrum Tobias was studying it back in the city.
Oh, how rude of him.
Now, such incidents could be avoided if only, and this applies to you too, young lady, people would sign out the books they borrow when they borrow them, and sign them back in when they're done.
Yeah, that'll never work.
Such a simple procedure. It shouldn't take more than a few seconds to jot down your name and the name of the book you borrow. It makes my job so much easier. Now, which book did you want me to find for you?
Well, first I want to ask you some questions. Also, maybe you should invest in some, administrative staff. Just a thought. Are you Minstrom Yeren?
Are you Minstrom Yeren?
Yes, of course. Oh, what a silly question.
Oh, I don't know who you are.
I don't know you.
I am Minstrom Yeren, keeper of the great library of Marcuria. In fact, this is the greatest library of all the Northlands.
Well, you should see some of the libraries back here, then.
Of the entire
There's nothing
world.
on that.
Although they say the Dark People have a library as big, if not bigger, than this one. But of course, we're not allowed anywhere near there.
Why not?
Have you been there?
No.
I don't think...
What a silly question. Of course you haven't. You're not of the Dark People, are you? You don't look like any Dark People I've ever seen, so I can't see how you could possibly... Now, where did Volume 6 disappear to?
In my pants. I mean, Tobias said I should talk with you.
Tobias said I should talk with you.
Tobias? Vestrum Tobias? I haven't seen him for... Well, he was in last week, but before that it must have been days at least. How is he? Still eating enough for 2 mules?
Wait, what?
I
He's
must
pregnant?
tell you of this funny story I heard the other day.
Um,
Of how Vestrum Tobias eats enough for a table full of minstrum. Or was it one Elguan? Although the Elguan don't, as a rule, eat very much at all. Did you know that the Elguan can smell water more than half a day's journey away? Amazing, amazing creatures, perfectly suited for life in the desert. The balance provides.
Not sure how you can
that's
smell
for
water.
certain. The balance provides.
I mean, usually when you smell something, it's because there's minute particulates in the air. But there's usually minute particulates of water everywhere. Which is one of the reasons why we don't smell it. Because then we'd be smelling it all the time. Vestrum Tobias recommended that I look at some books.
Vestrum Tobias recommended that I look at some books.
Books is what we do best here at the Enclave. That is for certain.
After making power
Which
armor?
book would you like to see?
I'm looking for some information, but I'm not sure which book to ask for. I'm looking for a story called The Silver Spear of Gorimon. A book on the history of Marcuria would be interesting. I'd like to see some Arcadian folk tales. Since we know of some books right now, let's ask about them. I'm looking for a story called The Silver Spear of Gorimon.
I'm looking for a story called The Silver Spear of Gorimon.
Yes, a fanciful tale if I ever saw one, but a charming one. Did you know that I'm often paid visit by adventurers wishing to read everything available on the spear so that they too could set out on their foolish quests?
Makes sense.
Yeah, don't you just hate those adventurers?
Well, they pay for my bread, milk, and butter with their contributions to the coffers, so I shouldn't be too critical of them.
Yeah, that's good.
But they care not about the books. They care only about what the books can give them.
I care. About the books, really.
I can tell. So, the Silver Spear of Gorimon, then?
That sounded facetious. Why can't you just produce it from nothing, like, you know, I'm carrying all these things in my skin-tight pants? Come on. Bring me the book. Okay, fine. Put it there, and I'll come over and read it.
I did find something of interest. I'll leave it here for you to read.
Well, thank you. Before we do that, let's check out our diary, since we did have an update. Let's see. Brian Westhouse just told me something I should remember. He said that he's heard stories about a winged people who observe and record history. They've got records going back thousands of years. Maybe they know something about the whereabouts of the disc, the jewels, or even the entrance to the Guardian's Realm. It's definitely worth checking out. Okay. Let's check out the book. Sit down, maybe? No? No? Okay. The Silver Spear of Gorimon. Is that... Yeah, turn page forward. Okay. This is not great font for reading. In the glory days of Bakshiva, before the drought, when Gorimon was the greatest city in the known world, the Parech of Bakshiva decided to forge the most powerful weapon in the world to challenge the mighty White Dragon. The Parech had grown greedy and bored, his treasure hold filled with the riches of the world, and he desired nothing except for the one thing he could never have, the unborn daughter of the White Dragon, the fairest, purest, most beautiful creature in the universe. He had asked the White Dragon for her daughter's hand in marriage, but she had refused, scolding him for his insolence and warning him to keep his distance from immortals. And so the Parech sought the advice of a mighty sorcerer, the dark and cruel Eos, to learn how to kill one of the Dryad King. The sorcerer told the Parech of the white silver of the Mount Tyranny, the strongest substance in Arcadia, and how it could be forged by magic to kill even one of the kin. The Parech ordered his army to go north across the ocean and to bring back enough white silver to shape a weapon. When his men returned with the rare metal, the Parech ordered the finest blacksmith in Bakshiva to his castle, where Eos the sorcerer cast a spell to create an unholy forge. 10 days and 10 nights it took before the exhausted blacksmith could present a tall spear to his emperor. But before the spear could be used to kill one of the kin, it had to be bathed in blood, beheading the poor blacksmith and the soldiers who had retrieved the white silver from Mount Tyranny. The Perech's private bath was filled with their blood. As he dropped the silver spear into the red bath, watched over by Eos, a terrible scream erupted, and the steam rose up in a red, foul-smelling cloud. When the steam lifted, the blood was all gone. The spear was glowing in a deep red color. With the terrible weapon now ready to be wielded, the Perech issued a challenge to the White Dragon, to either surrender her daughter to him for marriage or to suffer painful death at his hand. Enraged, the White Dragon refused him yet again, and flew to meet the Perech, his sorcerer, and his 1,000-strong army on the green fields outside Goramon. Of the magical silver spear she knew nothing, and the Perech kept it wrapped in cloth by his side. "Bring your forces around, Perech," warned the White Dragon. "If you do not, I will lay waste to them all." "I wish my men no harm," lied the Perech, "for this is between the two of us." He then rode forward alone, and dismounted his horse, but stayed within the reach of the spear. The White Dragon landed before him, and she said, "You are brave to face me like this when you know you cannot harm me." Then the Perech raised a hand as if to greet her. But it was instead a sign to his sorcerer, the terrible Eos, who cast a mighty spell to hold the White Dragon while the Perech drew his silver spear. The White Dragon fought bravely, and she was close to escaping the sorcerer's magic, but the Perech was quick, and he thrust the magic spear into her chest. She screamed in pain and anger, and the sorcerer's spell could no longer hold her. Rising on her beautiful wings, blood pouring down on the land below, she cursed Bathsheba, her Perech, and her people for all time. Wherever the White Dragon's blood fell, the land turned arid. The grass became sand. The Perech sent his army to follow the White Dragon to bring back her egg. But the drought grew, and within days, the once proud empire of Bathsheba was turning into a desert. Then followed a fierce storm that tore across the land for 100 days and nights, and when the dust settled, there was nothing left of Bathsheba but 2 coastal cities and a few scattered oases. Pretty sure that should be a plural of oasis, not oasis, not just the singular. It is said that in the buried ruins of a lost capital, wrapped in the arms of the Perech who dared test the immortal, rests the silver spear of Goramon.
Are you done? Let me take that back
Yes,
for you.
I'm done. You can put it away now. Slowly. Wait, you're not putting it back where you got it from. And you complain about us.
Oh, goodness, it's you again. Oh, you gave me such a fright.
Well, I had to tickle you. Could I see some more
Can I
books?
see some more books?
Oh, certainly. What a silly question.
Let's see. A book on the history of Marcuria would be
A book on
interesting.
the history of Marcuria would be interesting.
Ah, an extensive subject, to be sure. I will do my best.
Yeah, you better do your best. I got some reading to do, damn it. You had to walk even farther, didn't you? Just to make me wait. There is an option to skip these animation sequences, but I think it can cause some problems, and you can accidentally skip.
I did find something of interest. I'll leave it here for you to read.
You can accidentally skip important things. Travels in the Northlands by Germain the Discoverer, the first part. In my many years as a traveling poet and bard, I have journeyed far and wide across the fair realm of Arcady, and I have seen sights most people have not dreamed. Fires off of Orion's arm. I have stood in the magnificent and terrible southern capes in the midst of winter, when the storms are at their fiercest, while waves as tall as the towers of Altabon washed over my frozen body. That's probably not healthy. I have witnessed the monstrous beasts that lurk in those dark and deadly waters of the south, swallow brave galleons whole, creatures the size of mountains, that with a flick of a tail can touch the depths of the sea and the stars themselves. I have crossed the great ocean from north to south, and from east to west, and in the course been stranded on desert islands with no sustenance but what I could gather from the sparse vegetation. For months at a time I have ridden the giant Elgwin across Changrig... that thing. The wasteland, from Altaban to Monturba? Monturba. And further south, where the Teruk, the oasis, are few and far between. Well, actually, it's not a bad thing to not have to deal with Oasis. That not the best band out there. Suddenly, 1,000 people unsubscribed to me. And I have seen the shifting dunes above the ruins of Goramon, precious jewel of the Bakshivan Empire, concealed for centuries by the coarse and treacherous sand. And I have journeyed far west, carried on goodwill and destiny by shadow ships, to the strange and unknown cliffs of a world unseen by most, a world of an unfamiliar tongue and customs, a world of great wonder and mysticism. I have seen all this and more, but the fairest sights still I have seen in the lands of the north, from Aride to the border mountains, from Tiran to the Bay of Fire. No sight can ever compare to dawn at Mount Tyranny, looking out to the plains of Nedra, where wild stallions run free in the thousands. And to look on the city of Coruscant, the pearl of fire, while the boiling sun sets in the ocean beyond, the slow waves reflecting dark yellow and red as they lap slowly upon the sandy shores, is an experience truly treasured and ne'er forgotten. I feel like this guy could be a little bit less wordy. I mean, he's getting more wordy than Robert Jordan. These lands are blessed by the Creator, shaped by men, yet wild and free and fertile, home to the greatest cities, the most precious sights, and the most cultured and civilized people in Arcady. Of all the fires I have rested my weary legs by, of all the taverns where I have learned the legends of tale spinners and memorized the songs of bards, of all the lands where I have wandered from city to village, it is into the Northlands I return time and time again to learn evermore. Join me now, for I will evoke in you the very emotions I first experienced when visiting the sights and treasures of the northern lands. Join me, and I will surely bring you there, to the exotic midst of the blessed land, and you will pine for its rugged coast and green woods, and its hardy people, and like me, you will never rest until you can return to yonder shores. Marcuria. O Marcuria, thou unkempt diamond, of capitals thou art by truth the fairest. Thy counsel many seek, for knowledge kept within is centuries sought and gathered. By men wiser than the ages brought hither by word of mouth, Marcuria, changed thou not the course of war. Between thine people, diplomat, wise man, magician, all this and more. Thou hast without equal the mark of merit and virtue. Written by Jermaine Earthrin the poet. The august capital of Iride, the unified country, Marcuria lies on the hardy southern coast of the Northlands, halfway between Tiran and Coruscant. It is a port of call for merchants, traders, adventurers, and pilgrims from all four continents. A place of commerce and diplomacy for millions of humans and other species. Iride is a strong and proud land perched between the plains of Nedra to the north, the land of the Tiran to the west, the great sea to the south, and the forests of the Northlands to the east, and inhabited by humans, Dolmari, Tiran, Mole people, and Vener. Iride was formed after Marcuria emerged as a major center for diplomacy and trade, and became the banner under which the surrounding lands united as one. Iride is a democracy, currently led by the Chief Council of the Iride flag, Lord Igvan Dellen. The High Council, composed of the ministers who govern by representation, resides in the Marcurian Hall of Assembly, flanked by the palace and the barracks. The Irides are traditionalists, and their form of government has barely changed over the last few millennia. In High Tongue, Iride means unification or assembly. Marcuria is one of the largest cities in Arcadia, the capital of the Iride, and a center for trade, diplomacy, and cultural diversity, populated by a large variety of races. From human to Vener, Marcuria has grown from its origins as the birthplace of humanity to a city of all Arcadians, and the hub of the civilized world. Founded 20,000 years ago at the shore of a then unconquered ocean, it is the first known permanent settlement of the emerging human race. Initially left to its own devices by more developed races, Marcuria grew large and fat and wealthy. With newfound confidence, it passed through a period of expansion, which gained it a reputation as a merciless aggressor, which soon brought violent attention from the Tyran in the west and the Dolmari in the north. After years of war, Marcuria was decimated and subsequently rebuilt with sufficient reinforcements to weather attacks from both sea and land. Peaceful times followed, whereupon Marcuria settled into the role it has in today's Arcadia. Although all surrounding areas fall under its jurisdiction, there is sufficient self-governing and few central taxes to appease all but the most disgruntled. The huge areas of farmland around the city benefit from the well-kept roads, markets, and the busy export of to other lands. Nearby villages benefit from the military might of Marcuria, protecting them against roving barbarians and Tyran armies. And Marcuria also provides the people of the Northlands with one of the best and busiest ports in Arcadia, allowing travel to distant destinations around the world.
Are you done? Let me take that back for you.
Yep. And when we come back in the next episode, we will see what other books he has to offer for us. Once he puts this book back on that shelf. Odd. Anyway, next time, more book reading. See you then, everyone.